Hello and welcome to Superpower Gaming. I'm your host, Kevin Castley, and in this video, we're going to be taking a look at the Li-Zho Dynasty from the Scored and Stars fan expansion of Twilight Imperium 4th Edition. This faction is awesome. So, they were one of the first ones that I really got interested in when I heard about the Scored and Stars. Now, they have a lot of different features. You've probably heard about them for having the trap cards. They also feature a fighter that also functions as a heavy bomber. So let's take a look at these guys. So this is what they look like here. They kind of have like this silvery gold theme going on. Their actual colors we got in the background here. So you can see here their actual colors are black and orange, which we have the play pieces for now because Twilight Imperium Prophecy of Kings introduced orange play pieces, so that's good. So you can go either black or orange with them. We've only got orange lighting in the background, but one of the things that's interesting about these guys is that they're a 2C4I faction, so they can go out, they can conquer a bunch of systems really early on. They also feature a destroyer, 3 fighters, a space dock, and a PDS in their initial allocation of units. I really like that PDS. That's cool. I mean, 3 fighters is pretty potent. A destroyer thrown in there. I mean, their fleet's versatile. Look at that. Starting technologies, psychoarchaeology, and anti-mass deflectors. It's pretty good. Blue tech, arguably the best in the game, and having Psycho there is going to have them help them out as well. Now, a drawback to them is that they do have a 3-planet homeworld. Their starting planets are Pax, which is a 1-2, Ves, which is a 0-1, and of course we have Kier, which is a 2-0. This nets out to a 3-3, but it's across 3 planets. That's going to be tough to defend. Even with starting with a PDS, we're still going to need to rely on some construction at some point to lock down the home system. Let's look at the complexity rating. So they are ranked as high in complexity, and we'll see why, because they feature these trap attachments or the trap cards that you kind of want to know what you're doing with them. And so let's take a look. Their faction abilities are 1, Cunning. After you perform a tactical action in a system, you may attach 1 trap card from your reinforcements to a planet in that system that contains 1 or more of your infantry units. So now these trap cards, we'll take a look at them after, but basically when you move in somewhere, you get to put 1 of these down. Subterfuge is their second ability. Trap attachments are attached face down and remain hidden until revealed. You may look at trap attachments at any time. You do not count trap attachments towards fulfilling objectives. So they don't count as a structure. They don't count as like control. You can have a trap under someone else's system that they control. So it doesn't count for control objectives or structure objectives. So that subterfuge is kind of a clarification to Cunning and the mechanism of how it works, but it's a really unique ability. The faction promissory note here is the Trusted Counselor. At the start of a space combat you are participating in, you may place up to 2 fighters from your reinforcements in a space area of the active system, then return this card to the Li-Zho player. This, of course, is something that you're going to sell. Somebody else is going to pop this and get 2 fighters out of it. So what's 2 fighters worth? I mean, a trade good roughly. So, but that's under normal circumstances. This is a little different. This is directly into the space combat to bolster what's there. They're not just producing it and then having to bring it in after the combat. So because they get to help in the combat, you can sell this for more than a trade good. This is probably worth 2 trade goods. If somebody's desperate, maybe you can get something else out of it. But it's definitely worth more than 1 trade good, because even though it costs a trade good to build 2 fighters, you don't build them in the combat. So it's definitely some value there. Let's look at their faction technologies. I already alluded to their fighters, which is a faction-specific unit. They also feature a faction technology, the Wraith Engine. After you activate a non-home system, you may exhaust this card to choose 1 ship you control. You may treat that card, or rather, you may treat that ship as adjacent to the active system until the end of this tactical action. So, this is 2 prereqs. It's a blue tech. We don't start, no, we do start with the blue. We start with 1 blue. So we're halfway there, basically. So what we're going to need to do is, if we're going to bring this out, maybe we go for Sling Relay with them, potentially, right? It's also possible that you could go for Gravity Drive, but Sling Relay is kind of underrated. And then that would get us up to the Wraith engine. If we're choosing between Fleet Logistics and the Wraith engine, though, I still think Fleet Logistics is going to be more powerful. You might incorporate both into your strategy. You might just go way blue. You might have 5 blues. You might get everything. You might get everything in blue. So let's look at the faction-specific unit. So this is the Heavy Bomber 1. It's a cost of 1. It produces 2. And its combat hits on 9. No movement, no capacity because it's a fighter. But look at that. It's got bombardment 9 to it. So your fighters can bombard down and try to kill infantry. That's pretty cool. And you just start with them. Heavy Bomber 2 is the fighter upgrade. Same cost, but the combat's increased to 8. It can move 2 on its own now. And look at this. Bombardment 8. So the bombardment is more effective. You got a 30% chance of hitting now. This unit may move without being transported. Fighters in excess of your ship's capacity count against your fleet pool. So that's pretty standard, and it's a green-blue prerequisite, of course, because it's fighter. Look at that. We start with green-blue. We could get fighter 2, Heavy Bomber 2. We could get that round 1 if we really wanted to do some damage to somebody early on. But, you know, it's out there. It's available to us. We don't have to do any special research to get to it. That's pretty cool. I like the bombardment ability of it because, yeah, you can say, well, it's bombardment 8. That's not grain breaking. But understand, you're going to have a lot of Heavy Bomber 2s, right? Like, you're going to have a lot of these guys. You're not capped on producing them. You have like 6 of these guys bombarding at 8. What, you're just wrecking 2 infantry before combat even starts? That's, I mean, a bunch of these Heavy Bomber 2s get into Warsun capability of power for like a third of the cost. It's pretty wild. Very agile. Now we look at the trap cards here. So these guys come with additional components. They're the trap cards. In the unboxing video, we showed you what they look like. They're these special cards, basically, that have the Li-Zho insignia on the back. They're pretty cool. So let's look at what they do. They all do something different. So the first trap, they all come in only one, so there's only one of each trap. The first trap is the Interference Grid. While this card is attached, you may reveal this card at the start of space combat in the system. Choose one player, apply -1 to each of that player's combat rolls during the space combat. At the end of this tactical action, return this card to your reinforcements. So, if you're in there, you're parked in that system, somebody comes in to try to destroy you, you've already got a trap card down, you pop this, and now they're applying -1 to their combat rolls. That's pretty cool. Or, what if you leave that system? What if you don't want it anymore? What if you get forced out or something, but you decided not to use the card? Card stays there. You could have 2 other people fighting over that system, and then you could decide to pop this, and then you choose one of those players. And then you say, like, hey, look, give me a trade good, and I'll make it the other guy. That sort of thing. Who knows, right? The second trap is minefields. Well, this card is attached, so you may reveal the card after a player commits 1 or more infantry to this planet. So it's a ground effect. Destroy up to 2 of that player's infantry on this planet. That's wild. So just by bringing this out, like, basically, here's the thing about the Li-Zho Dynasty. Your opponent doesn't know what trap card you put down. Your opponent's wondering, like, do they have a minefield there? Do they have an interference grid? Are they going to siphon? Are they going to do this other stuff? Could be a blank. There's a blank as well. But understand, if they're going to commit ground forces to a planet that has a trap card on it, they now have to bring in 3 to guarantee that they have a survivor to actually take the planet. So that raises the stakes tremendously because they don't know what it is. Unless you showed them that it was that on a different system, now everybody knows. But if they don't know, if this is still out there, they're going to have to bring in a lot of infantry because if they don't, and they're wrong, and it is a minefield, they might not even be able to take the planet. They might just unalive on the planet. You just destroy 2 of their infantry. That's pretty crazy. Another alternative is they could bring in a mech, but there are only 4 mechs, so mechs are a little bit rarer to come by. And of course, after the end of this tactical action, return it to your reinforcement, so it's going to come back after you use it. The next one is the trap, the account siphon. So you may reveal this card after a player gains control of the planet. So if they actually take the planet, you take up to 2 trade goods or 3 commodities from that player. Well, that's cool. So you're just like, no, I want those. Gone. So, that's a threat. That's a deterrent. They know if they go and take this system, they might lose money. The other trap is the gravitic inhibitor. While this card is attached, you may reveal the card after a player activates the system. So this one's just simply they activate it. Until the end of this tactical action, that player cannot move more ships than 1 fewer than their fleet supply limit into the system. So if they've got a fleet supply of 3 and you activate this, they can only bring 2 ships in there. That's that potentially can determine a combat there. Like if you got 4 ships and they go to bring in 3, but they're heavier ships and 3 dreads or something, no, they're only bringing in 2 dreads. Well, that's interesting, right? So, and you know what they are, so you know where you can position your forces in a way that you can be confident to defend your system. But even if you lose the system, if you had an account siphon, you're still getting money, right? The next trap is the feint card. While it is attached, you may reveal this card at any time, then return it to your reinforcements. So that one, they go in, they take it, you're like, yeah, okay, I'm going to return it to my reinforcements. It was a blank. Or you could leave it there, and they don't know. So next is the trap saboteurs. This one is an optional component for groups which prefer to have stronger traps. While this card is attached, you may reveal this card at any time. Choose 1 non-carrier unit in this system. If it is not damaged and has the sustained damage ability, that unit becomes damaged. Otherwise, destroy that unit. Then return the card to your reinforcements. This one's pretty potent. Not when you're just straight up potentially destroying a ship, right? Depending on what they're bringing in. I like that. That's cool. Being able to just make something sustain just because it came in. You haven't even started combat yet. I like that. Look, if I'm going to be playing these guys, I'm going to tell the table, like, yeah, we should have this trap card in here. Let's not have the underpowered one. Let's have the more powerful Li-Zho Dynasty. Like, go big or go home, basically. Let's look at their flagship. This is the Silence of Stars. It's cost 8, combat 5, hits on 2, hits on 5, rolls 2. Very good. Movement 1, capacity 3. Abilities. It's got sustained damage, and this unit can only be destroyed by an uncancelled hit being assigned to it. So, yeah, you can't destroy it with anything that what would you say? They can't play a card that basically requires your ship, if it's sustained damage, it gets destroyed. They can't do anything wacky. They literally have to do an uncancelled hit. So you could still cancel the hit. They just have to have a conventional hit that hits your ship that destroys it. That's it. Nothing else, no other game abilities can destroy your flagship. Their mech is the Origin Elite. At the start of your turn, you may remove 1 trap card from the game board, attach it to this planet, or swap any trap attachment with one on this planet. So you get to switcheroo, you get to move them around and stuff. That's kind of cool. Cost of 2, combat 6. I don't necessarily know how useful that is. I haven't played a game with these guys yet, but depending on what traps you got out, maybe space 1, that sort of thing, you might move it around depending on your fleet size. So let's look at the leader pool. The leaders look really cool. So we've got Vazra Evil, the intelligence officer. Of course, we start with Vazra. So the ability is at the end of a player's turn, you may exhaust this card to allow that player to place 2 fighters from their reinforcements in the space area of a system that contains 1 or more of your ships. So you're getting out those those heavy bombers, right? That's cool. So, you know, over the course of a typical game, you got 5-6 turns. You might be getting 12 free fighters out of that. Well, that's 6 trade goods right there from our agent, essentially. Our commander here is Doom Tattoo, the ruthless strategist, and he looks so cool. He looks so cool. He's like this cyan, teal, turquoise lizard man. During a round of combat in which no more than one of your non-fighter ships or one of your infantry is participating, you may choose one of your units in that combat. That unit rolls 1 additional dice. Well, that is kind of like raid style. It's almost like a more lane version of the Gamina Raiders, where you're only sending in 1, but it gets an extra combat dice. Okay. A solo dreadnought could hit twice, potentially, fairly easily, right? That's kind of cool. Let's look at the hero. Look at this, like, dragon guy there. Kazrin Li-Zho, the Empress. So I guess it's a woman. Have 3 scored objectives as per usual. Also, in order to unlock that commander, we have to have all 4 trap attachments on the game board. So you want to get those trap attachments out there. The Star's Razor, closing moves. Action. You may attach or remove and attach each trap card to a planet on the game board. Place a total of up to 12 fighters in any number of systems that contains 1 or more planets with trap attachments and no other player's ships. Then purge this card. So not only are we potentially moving them around, we're also bringing them out if we brought them back already or we activated them. We're getting them all out, a full house of trap cards. But we're getting 12 fighters. This is like Rise of a Messiah for infantry, but for fighters. And it's better than that, because how often do you get 12 infantry out of that? Not that often. This is insane. That's a cost of 6 trade goods, but it's dispersed over into these systems where you don't even need to move them there. They're just spawning there, which is useful. And it's 12 of them, and we know by the time we're bringing this hero out, they're like heavy bomber 2s. They're probably going to be upgraded. You should probably upgrade your fighters if you're going to choose this faction. Well, that's insane. That's 12 right there, you know? So that's cool. Just make sure you have a big fleet supply, basically, because they do count against it when they move. So, wow. And then, of course, this is the home world there. You can see they have 3 planets. The planets look cool. It's not the best home world, but they're an interesting, unique faction. This is like what the trap cards look like. Various text. So that's the Li-Zho Dynasty. So I'm kind of curious now. Have you played with the Li-Zho Dynasty? Have you won? Are you planning to play with them? What sort of strategy would you pursue with them? And how would you kind of compensate for having a weaker homeworld that's kind of harder to defend? Would you kind of go in the direction of building more PDS with construction? Would you consider upgrading PDS? Would you go full down the blue route? Would you look at potentially going for hypermetabolism? What would be your strategy there? So feel free to comment, and be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. I do lots of gaming content here, and we're going through all the faction guides for Twilight Imperium. We're starting with Discordant Stars because there's not that much Discordant Stars content there, but we'll get through all of them. They're almost 60, so it's going to take a little while, but it's a lot of fun. And thanks for staying with me here. So with that, I will see you in the next video. Take care and stay base, folks. Have fun.